In this video, I'm going to show you how you can automatically create an API key for any developer that registers an account on the Zuplo Developer Portal. Now, what that's going to enable for them is the experience of being able to log in, like right now, and then go directly to this API keys tab right here. And rather than having to go and create a key, there's already going to be a key set up for them. Now, this is also going to mean that when they log in, they can also go directly to any of the endpoints that you have inside your developer portal, click on test in the playground, and they're already going to have an API key right here that they can immediately use to make a request. So what we're going to do is set this up with auth0 using a very simple script that's going to do this as soon as an account gets registered. Let's get into it. So for this example, we're going to use auth0 as our authentication provider. You can use different authentication providers with the Zuplo Developer Portal, and they all approach this in kind of a similar way, in that there's a step that allows you to trigger some kind of script that's going to run the ability to create the API key. Now in auth0, which is the one that we're using here, they do this using actions. So what we need to do to get this set up is create the action that's going to run. So in auth0, we go over to actions and then into library, and we're going to create an action, a custom one, and we'll call it create API key. The trigger for this is login/post login, and the runtime is fine. Node 22 is all good. This is a very simple script. All it does really is make an HTTP request to the Zuplo Dev API. So we'll go ahead and set that up. And then here what we can do is define the script that we want to run. Now this can basically do anything that you would like. So there's a lot of different functions that you could do here. What I'm going to do is grab the script that we need in this case, and you'll be able to find this full script if you want to use it in the blog post that's linked in the description of this video. But I'll quickly walk through it. So it needs a couple of constants here for Zuplo account and Zuplo API key bucket, which we're going to get in just a second. And effectively what this is going to do is set up a body, which is a selection of metadata and various different things that the Zuplo API needs to create an API key for somebody. It's going to associate it with the email that the user has defined for their account. So whatever email they've registered their account with, that's what's going to get applied to that particular API key. So once they're logged in, that's where the matching is going to happen. So they'll see API keys that have been registered against their particular email address. This section right here is actually what makes that request over to the Dev API, creates the API key, sets up all of the relevant metadata, and then obviously there's a check to see if the response is okay. This is a non-blocking request that we have here, so if it doesn't work, then that's fine. What will actually happen is that the next time they try and log in, it will run again. So if it doesn't work the first time, it will work the second time. So we need to do a couple of things here. We need to replace this Zuplo account an API key bucket. So if I head over to Zuplo, what I can do is go into the project I'm going to use for this, and the account in this case is Martin-Davis, which is my name. So we will put that in right here, and then the API key bucket we need to grab from services and the API key service and bucket details. And in this case in Zuplo, I'm on the working copy, which is like the equivalent of local development, but in the browser. That's the project I'm going to be using to demonstrate this. So I need to get the bucket name for that, which is this one right here. If you were using different environments, such as production, then you would just switch this here, and then your bucket details will swap over to the production bucket name. But you have to make sure that you're using the correct bucket name when you go and set this up. So in this case, I want working copy. Okay, we'll paste that in here. It isn't a secret. That's okay, auth0, don't worry. And then there is one other thing that is a secret that we need to include here. And that's actually the API key for Zuplo that we need to make this request. So we've got an event.secrets.api key, and that's actually going to be defined right here. So we can set this up and call it API key. And then I'll go get my API key. Now in Zuplo, API keys live in your user settings. So API keys, use the default one, copy that. And then we'll paste that in and click on create. So we now have everything set up in place here. We've got all of the relevant elements that we need in order to successfully make this request against our Zuplo account. So let's go ahead and click on deploy. Okay, now that's in place. What we need to do is actually make sure that this script triggers. So in Auth0, go to actions and triggers, and we want this to be a post login trigger. And you can see here you've got this kind of drag and drop interface for setting this stuff up. So once the user is logged in, and this also works in this case for like post registration, because once you register the account, it automatically logs you in. So this step is going to happen when you register for the first time, or when you just log in. So again, that's why if the script doesn't work the first time for some reason, it will work the second time a user logs in. And if they haven't had an API key created at that point, they'll get one. So in order to make this script run, we just need to take our create API key trigger, drop it in, and click on apply. And that is everything that we need to do inside of Auth0. Obviously, you need an Auth0 account. You need the Auth0 to be set up. That's a separate step. If you need to go through that and you need to see documentation that's going to help you get to that point, we do have it inside of the Zuplo docs, so you can go ahead and reference that for the dev portal specifically. So now the next thing that I need to do is go and make sure that the dev portal is pointing at the right Auth0 stuff so that we can go ahead and test this. So let's get that set up. So inside of our project, we need to add Auth0 into the developer portal, and that's really quick to do. If we head to the code tab, what we have here is a Zudoku config. Zudoku is the framework that powers the Zuplo developer portal. And in here, there is a setting down at the bottom for authentication. Now, this is set up by default to use the demo Auth0 account that is provided by Zuplo, so that you've got something that works out of the box, but obviously it isn't for production purposes. And also this doesn't know about the script that we just set up. So we are going to have to change a couple of the settings here. So I'll just quickly grab those ones that I have for the account that I set up. And this is my tenant ID, the for Auth0, the client ID, and also the audience that I want to have set up. And that is represented in the application that I set up in Auth0. It will be different for you. Each one of these things will be different. Again, if you need to figure out where to find all of these different elements, you can do that in the documentation. But now that I've done that and I've saved it, the developer portal is going to quickly rebuild, and then what that means is it's actually going to go and point at the account that I've set up. So for authentication, we'll now be authenticating against my Auth0 account, and when we do that authentication, it's going to run that script and create our API key. So first off, let's have a look at where that's going to actually show up. If we go to services and API key service and click on configure, you'll see that there are no consumers found at this particular time. So what we can do is go ahead and jump into the developer portal, and we will reload this version and we'll log out. And now what we need to do is actually create a new user. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll sign up. We'll do Martin plus new user at zuplo.com. Give it a password, a secure one, and then click on continue. Okay, so now I have been created as a new user, and if we go over to the Zuplo portal, what we can do is actually check to see if our script ran, and we see that a consumer has been created for that particular email address, so it did run, which means that it automatically got an API key created for the user that I have just registered. So now if I click on this and go to API keys, what we're going to see here, and this is just an Auth0 thing here, in that the email does actually need to be verified before the account is fully created. So I'll just jump off screen here and go ahead and verify my account. So that is verified. So over then click on refresh. What I have is my newly minted API key ready for me to use. And again, I don't even have to come here in order to be able to do that. I don't even need to copy it in order to use it. I can just go straight into whatever API is in the dev portal, head to this and click on my consumer, make a request, and my request is fully authenticated. So there we go. That is how simple it is to add the ability to create an API key when someone registers for your developer portal. I think it's a real quick and easy way of being able to add something nice for your users once they sign up, and remove a little bit of the steps for actually getting started. They won't have to create their API key once they get in here. They'll already have one set up, ready to go, so they can start testing with your API pretty much immediately. Like I said, everything is documented in a blog post that you'll find in the description below, along with the links to all of the relevant documentation. I hope that you found this video useful. Please let us know if you want to see more of this kind of thing, and I'll see you in the next one.